Good morning guys, how are you doing? And here we are today in the job that we have to do today. And what we have to do is this one singular ceiling, which isn't a bad size to be honest with you. Let's have a little count up. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's about 6, and probably 1, 2, 3, 4, by about 4.5. So as we can see, it's an old stipple. Fortunately, the stipple isn't very heavy at all. But as in the case with so many Arctic ceilings, we can see straight away, even though there's a heavy texture on this, we've got a lot of undulations and we can see the ceiling is rippled all over the place. We've got a cove-in edge that we need to take care of and not upset that too much. If we come to the site, I'll come to the other side because I've got those units here, but like when you get a chance to cast your eye down things, let's have a look, I haven't done this yet. So we can see this line is snaking around a little bit, so we're kind of a little bit restricted what we can do in the sense of straightening this up. So we can zoom in there, it's a little bit worse way down there. But the main reason why we're in here to do this is because there's been a leak, and of course stipple is probably the hardest pattern to try and match up, and somebody's tried to match it up here and it looks a little bit crude. There's a little bit of bounce in that there. I think maybe the paper might have breached. I think we're going to have a look at this bouncing up and down. The majority of it is quite solid. I'm going to say this is a new bit here, and I think this bit here is probably a bit of damaged paper from the original plasterboard. We're going to have to get some scrapers into this and try and trim this back a little bit. As you can see, it is rather proud of the rest of the ceiling. Light is a bit of an issue in here because obviously we've taken them down, and I've got this thing here instead. Right. Let's get some dust sheets out, cover things up, and start cracking on. Yeah, it's amazing. It's gone from this bit here. You patched out.
I'm over at the time. The frame decorator.
Try a bit this.
I'll do it, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's quite big. That's why it's sticking out so bad. I might have to take a hammer to this.
Can you wait just 5 minutes?
Okay, so as we can see, there's quite a large amount of build-up when this was done. I don't know if there's a hole. Apparently somebody else did this repair, not these people here, but look, this is what we've got going on here. So that's stuck in. I just want to reduce that down as best we can. It's not the paper, it's actually the Artex that's failed there. This is coming off real nice. It's just this section that's being a little bit of trouble. Okay, I'm not sure what exactly has happened here. Maybe there was a hole here, maybe he has filled it and then he's patched it in, but he hasn't sealed it every time he's gone on, and I think what's happened is he's patched in the main area. There's a bit of a hole there, but this all feels quite solid. I think he's patched it in, let that go off and added layers on top of layers, but what's happened is as this first layer's dried in, then what's happened is as he's put on more layers, the suction has sucked the moisture out of the textured finish, and that's why he's ended up putting on so much and it's come so low, because it's going off before he could get round and get it into a condition that he wants it to. So yeah, he's put on layer after layer after layer. That's continued to keep drying up on him, because the moisture's been drawn out of it and he's just lost his workability, and it's just got bigger and bigger. So yeah, I'm trimming this back. Okay, we're certainly looking a lot better along here now. There is still some bend in it, but you know, it's not much different to the rest of the ceiling, really. Look, the movement we got in there. Like I say, look at this. The light down here, I don't know if you can see it. See that we got a little ripple there. Look, got up and down joist basically. There we go. There's just a bit of movement there. There doesn't appear to be a crack, and it all feels quite solid up there as well. There's no movement in it at all. I think maybe it was like that when matey left the job. I don't think it's gone like that over time. See this ripple through here, look at all this, you can see the undulations in the ceiling. That's what we are going to remedy, as well as that. This all seems quite secure. I don't quite understand why it seems to be plasterboard underneath it, but like I say, there's no popping nail heads or any breach of the plasterboard or anything, so I don't think there's any real need to chop that bit of plasterboard out and replace it. It all seems quite stable. So with that brief diagnosis, I think it might be time to get some PVA over all this. And PVA is going to seal the ceiling, it's going to help the plaster stick to the ceiling, it's going to physically glue it. I think probably a couple of coats of PVA in here. I'll get the first coat of PVA on, watch how that pulls in. If it pulls in really quick, then I'll give it a second PVA. There's loads of other priming agents that you can use. SBR is another good alternative. SBR is a bit thinner and it's a little bit more difficult to control, so I don't want to get stuff all down the walls. I don't want it to bleed through the dust sheets and get on the floor that's being kept. So with PVA, it's a little bit more forgiving in the sense like that. It's easier to control, it's a little bit thicker, and if you do get it down the walls or something like that, or somewhere you don't want it to be, on a cabinet, on the floor, you do get a chance to get it off. It will break down with water if you get it wet again, whereas SBR is a very, very aggressive and sticks to all sorts of things, and once it's gone hard and dry, you are going to really, really struggle to get that out. Okay, you might be get some roller and everything in there. Let's have a quick look. Now, I'm quite happy to get this stuff used up, because I mentioned in the video previous, I filled this up, and where the temperature has been up so high in this country and this has been left in the motor, because I've watered it down with water, it's actually very, very, very smelly. So it's the water in it has gone stagnant, and that's what happens. So I'm quite happy to use this up and get some fresh stuff in there, because it's stinking my motor out. too wet. Now you need your PVA to tack up a little bit because plaster won't like sticking to very, very wet PVA. It will hydroplane across the ceiling and not stick properly. It'll be very difficult to lay it on. So we do need this to at least tack up. Now, like I say, as you can see, it's still a little bit on the outside and it's taken me a little while to get across the ceiling. So coming back and checking this now, when I'm used to using PVA, I need to go around the edges yet with a little brush to get right into the coving. Yeah, that's going to indicate to me that the suction on this ceiling is not going to be too bad. Nevertheless, I think I will let this pull in and give it another coat of PVA over the top, because the first coat of PVA is going to kind of like soak into the depth, and that's going to start doing its job and start sealing things. So if you let this dry and pick up a little bit, you don't want to go over it whilst it's still wet, because it's just the same as one coat. So I'm going to let this first coat draw in to the surface, okay, and then when I put the second coat on, it's not going to draw in so deep because the suction's been killed down, and it's going to create a little bit more of a skin sort of on top, but you don't want too much of a thick skin, because otherwise when it's trying to like dry out and stuff, it might feel touch dry, and you put the plaster on it and the skin of PVA will come away, and you don't want that. So yeah, let this pick up, then we're going to get another tight coat of PVA over it, and then we can start thinking about getting our plastering tools out. Okay, so the PVA has picked up and we are pretty much in a position to start putting some plaster on this ceiling. Now, like I say, it's quite a large ceiling and it's a little bit tricky to guess how much we're going to need, because we need to take out some undulations and we got the depth from the texture as well. So let's hope it's about 2 bags, because that's what I can fit in that bucket. So I'm going to knock up a full 2 bags, start getting it on the ceiling and see how we get on. Oh, it's PVA. The reason it smells is because it's been so hot and it's been in my van.
Oh, right.
So
I was like, fucking hell, have you dropped it?
Yeah, no. I was wondering what it is, because there's water in it.
Right.
That's where we water it down, and in the heat, because I filled it back up again last week, the end of last week, and then I didn't do anything for 4 days, so it's just been sitting in my sitting in the tub, in the motor, and it's the heat's got to it, made it smell. But yeah, I was driving back the other day from work and I was like, what is that smell? Well, there's something wrong with the motor or something. I thought, put some oil in it or something like that. And once I'd done all that, it dawned on me. I was like, oh, I know what that is. It's bloody PVA.
Right. You have to
I will do.
Rest up, really.
Nice one, thank you. and I have that left of the bucket, which is probably just over a hawkful, so I'm quite happy that our judgment was pretty much bang on, 2 bags. Yeah, that's well handy. You can see the state of which it went on, okay? This is because I'm trying to sniff out areas which are thinner and which are deeper, and with that big trowel, this one, 20 by 5 carbon steel. I mean, it is a big trowel. Not many plasterers use and lay on this. It's carbon steel, and predominantly the blade is pretty straight. It only kicks up slightly at the front and the back. Now, because I use such a large trowel, I find it really easy putting this first coat on to sniff out things. Like when I'm creating a bit of a trowel mark in plaster, such as here, it's giving me an indication of where I need to move my trowel, how I regulate the depth so it's all flat. If I was using a smaller trowel, like a stainless steel perma-shape, where the blade is quite very curved, you don't get feedback like that from the surface that you're going on. So to flatten out, you might need to drop down to something like one of the speed skim rules, but I will draw the line at the plastic bladed speed skims. If I was going to do speed skimming, I always use the metal blade ones because they're a little bit stiffer. The plastic ones tend to roll with the contours a little bit too much. They make things look flat, but they actually make things smooth and not be flat. You can like ease things out. I mean, they will be better, but for me, I find getting that thing on there, I don't need a speed skim at all because I can get it flat up with that than even with one of the metal bladed speed skims. A lot of people have a lot of questions about that trowel. Basically, when I put on, it's like they're saying you're not even loading up the whole trowel. Yeah, you're right. It's because it's really hard to difficult. If you've got that whole length loaded up, this then becomes really heavy, okay? And then you start working your joints and stuff. So I put on a regular amount of plaster as if I'm using a small trowel. So I'll put on with it like that, but I'm not, I'm using a big trowel. But as soon as I've put on a few small bits, then I'll come back over and I'll use the whole length to flatten it out. Okay, it's a bit like a tightrope walker, you know, when they got the pole, the big long pole to keep their balance. I find that trowel is really, really nicely balanced for flattening out. Yeah, I could be putting on a smaller trowel. I can do it all that. I don't need another trowel in there. Simplicity is the name of the game. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn back round straight away with that 20 by 5 carbon steel trowel, and I'm probably going to use the rest of this gear up, finding and sniffing out little holes and getting this first coat flat, okay? And I'm going to get it flat with that trowel when it's easy, when the stuff is wet. And I see a lot of plasterers that go, oh, okay, and they're like, they might put a second coat on this condition, and then what you're doing is you're moving the problem later down the age of the wall, the set, okay? And then you'll start dealing with the ripples and flatness a little bit later when the plaster's harder. Again, it's making it hard work for yourself. Get it good, get good at getting it good when it's easy, when it's wet. Okay, so we have just flown across it with the 20 by 5 carbon steel trowel, and this is a condition we find ourselves in now. Now you will notice there is some pimpling from the pattern underneath. That's because the plaster in its wet state is hanging under its own weight because the plaster is too wet to really hold itself. This is why when you're going over a texture ceiling like this, it's a really good idea to let this first coat pick up quite a bit. You can see it there, look, a lot of pimpling there, bubbles coming through. That way, that first coat will start holding itself together, and those pimples will not bleed through into the second coat because you've left that first coat a little bit longer. There's other ways you can get around it. You can put a few handfuls of bonding or something in the first coat to bulk it out and reduces it down a little bit. I just tend to find this is good enough for me, especially since I'm on a job at the moment and the ceiling is all I've got to do. Okay, so yeah, I have used speed skims and stuff. I've used all the bits and pieces that come out, and I select the ones that suit me better. Now, I've got a speed skim with a metal rule on top of my roof rack right now, but I'm not using it, okay? I'm choosing not to use that. Let's have a look at the sort of job we're on. So, we are here because that ceiling, we're working directly for the customer. We've only got that one ceiling to do, and the customer has employed a plasterer because they're sick and tired of the state of their ceiling. So that's why I'm here. So I'm going to do the highest quality job I can, and for me, using a speed skim will not deliver the same quality that I can achieve with that big trowel. Now, if I was on a different job and I was really pushed, I was being paid by the meter, people are on my back and you know, it's not directly through the customer, it's for a build or something, and they want meter, you're really tight, then I would probably consider using a speed skim. And that is exactly what it is, a speed skim. It's not a quality skim, it's a speed skim. It's 100% faster, totally. And if you've got meters and meters and meters to get through, use a speed skim. If you need to get something on like this and really scrutinize on the quality and stuff, I mean, they're not that bad. I don't want to be, you know, going right into one about them, but all I'm saying is I can get a better finish with that big trowel than using, especially the floppy plastic speed skims. Okay, I don't use them at all. They will ride over everything. Same as the Plasiflex trowels as well, plastic trowels. I really can't see a need for them. Right, skip lorry's turned up. I might need to move my van. Looks like I'm all right. But yeah, I'm on a private job. I'm a private plasterer. I'm like a plasterer for money. I'll do what you want me to do. I'm just like a private plasterer, plaster for money, and any old wall or ceiling will do. Okay, so we've left the ceiling for a little bit, good 15 minutes or so, and it's still slightly wet, to be honest with you. I think we probably will be ready to start laying down very soon. It's not far off. But yeah, that PVA is really doing its job. Okay, so just if you don't know, because I always like to add some stuff in if you're first time through this channel. You know, I always try to think of the guys watching for the first time, and you know, give some DIY tips and stuff, rather than just keep doing stuff for the experienced plasterer. But just so you know, this ceiling took 2 bags to get on, pretty much exactly 2 bags. There's a little bit of extra depth of it to it because we had to get over the texture, and generally when you knock up your first coat, if it's 2 bags, generally as a rule of thumb, 1 bag will lay it all down and put the second coat on. So laying down is putting the second coat on. But because we had to make up the depth, then I'm going to guess it's going to be less than a bag to lay this down, put the second coat on. Especially since we did take the time to get this as flat as we did with that big trowel. So our next coat now is going to go on much more regulated than that first coat did. And this is when we're going to start clawing some time back from spending that extra time making sure this first coat is really nice and flat, not necessarily smooth. Now everything gets easier and easier because we've dealt with the flatness problem really early on, and we're not moving that flatness problem further down the line when it's more difficult to sort out. So there we go, just under a bag, locked up slightly, a little bit wetter. And I did wash around the bucket and use a tiny little bit of dirty water from the first gauge to send it off that a little bit faster, because this is hanging around a little bit, so I think we can get away with it. Right, now let's get this up there and see if we got enough and my calculations were correct. Okay, so the second coat has gone on, and as you can see, it's gone on very flat indeed. That is because we took the time to flatten out that first coat as much as we did. So we've got a little bit of time on this now. My calculations were pretty good. So really, this would be a walk in the park. But unfortunately, Houston, we've got a problem. Let me show you. And sometimes this happens. What's happened is, and it seems to be the only area that's thought I noticed something earlier. I'm glad we got this ceiling in as good a condition as it is, and we got a little bit left over, because it's going to give me the time to sort this out, and it needs sorting out now. Look, the Artex is failing, and it's quite a sizable lump. Look, it's here, it's here, it's here. Right, I'll set these empty bags up here. This has to be cut out. paper trowel. We'll make the cut marks first. So hopefully, it's gone there, look. Hopefully we'll be able to isolate the compromised area. So I'm trying to film and do this at the same time. It feels pretty good there. This has got to come off. Put this down here again. There should go. Come on in, come on in. Oh, nice. We've reached here. Damn it. Reached here. So that's why we want to cut the line, because we don't want to keep rupturing it. So it looks like, and I was thinking that because this is the line where the old leak was. Look, it's water damage has caused this. There's been a leak. Let's get that off there. Right. Now we can see what we're dealing with. It's plain old plasterboard. We need to get some PVA on this quick and get this hole filled in. Look at the mess it's made. Nevertheless, that's what we need to deal with. Priorities. Just when I thought everything was going my way, I had such a wonderful feeling. Alright, we need this nice fine coat of PVA on there because we need it to pick up double quick. Go off. Stinky PVA. I want to make sure I get it into these edges and try and stop any further rupturing going on, although I can feel it's pretty solid there. Don't panic, Mr. Mandarin. I mean, sometimes this happens, and to be honest with you, we're quite fortunate. It's just this one area. This is why a lot of guys recommend instead of going over Arctic ceilings, over-tack them. But it's not really going to happen when you've got coving all the way around. It's just wood all of it. So we've got rather stiff stuff. I'll just move that around just to lighten it up a little bit. Let's see if we can get that to go on there. Unfortunately, this is the same stuff as what we put the setting coat on with, so it should catch back up, and we might have a little bit here that's behind everything else. Although, when it starts to set, you probably will see the repair until it's painted. Oh, it's really going off stiff. Okay, should get us out of the woods. Right, now I'm going to need to start back up and start flattening this all in. Okay, wet brush. I use these ones that are much nicer because I don't ever use corner trails. I'm using a brush such as this, find it delivers just enough water, and it's really good for cleaning around the tops of the coving. Okay, so systematically we've been working across the ceiling with the wet brush in exactly the same way as when we put the plaster on, and now we find ourselves back at this patch in question, and it's kind of pulling in. But remember, this is one coat now, it's on double thick, so it is kind of bedding a little bit. Now if you've got a sponge float would be ideal. I do have one, but I'm going to show you what to do if you haven't got a sponge float. What we're going to do is do pretty much what a sponge float does, but using our brush, and we're just going to brush this on and just rough up that surface of the affected area. Left that in there. Also, from the rest of the ceiling, I've got this residue building up, and it's our first trowel, so we can still use this. I can feel the grain, there's particles in there, and that is what we are going to use as our second coat, just for that one little bit of area. Hopefully, when this is painted, we shouldn't notice at all. And let's hope there's no other areas that have done this in here. So hopefully, if it was going to happen, now's the time for it to happen, and not later. So this is the only one we've got to deal with for now. Sorting that out, and as a result, because remember I knocked up the dirty water, temperature's picking up, it's coming to the afternoon, it is getting away from me a little bit, but don't worry, I'm going to get straight back on it and give it a second trowel with the wet brush straight away. I've also shut this door now because we're getting a draft coming through, all the way through into the front door. We're making a wind like channel, so we'll shut the door, kill the wind, we're going to get back on this now and keep up with it, right on the edge. So it's the second visit with the 20x5 carbon steel trowel. We are just keeping up with this by the skin of our teeth. So that's the second visit. We're going straight back over it again. I've just come to the end, going straight back to the front again. And we're still sticking with that 20x5. There's no dropping down to a stainless steel flexi trowel or anything like that. Not at this time. I still need the pressure. I still need that rigid trowel to really be, working for me. I can't be using a softer trowel at the moment. So let's get on and do that. Okay, so there's the third time and we've gone across. This is the sort of residue we're getting out now. It's much wetter. And yeah, I've really had to open up that big 20 trowel. Not very easy on the shoulder, but we are keeping up with it. And now I can probably switch down to a Rafina, the stainless steel flexible trowel, and polish this in now. Stainless steel, Rafina Flex 2. Look at the flex on that, eh? Okay, so there we have our fourth visit with a trowel. A little bit more of a shine than I'd normally put in it, but that's because it was getting away from us and we really had to open that trowel right up to get it to do what we wanted it to do. This is that patch that failed. You see, look, the perfect line which we cut out because of the manner and way we put the first coat on, and then we used fat and brushed it back and everything. As it's setting, it's going these peculiar colours, but that should all fall in line as the day goes on and the ceiling starts drying out. And when it's painted, nobody but us will know that ever happened. Right, let's open the doors. Let's have a drink. That was hard work. Thanks for watching that video. There you go, that's what to do when good ceilings turn bad. Don't forget to come over to the Facebook page, Postmaster74. It's a great place to ask for advice, or give advice. And don't forget to like and subscribe. So I'm not going to go on too much at the end of this video. Thanks for watching again, and I'll see you in the next video. It's Saturday, by the way, and I've been to work today. I've got that one to edit, and this one's going to go out tonight. Right, have a good one.
Yeah.